urging all states to follow what he has started as a pioneer. Move from commitment to action. Thank you.
Thank Ms. Linda Winton from Optimist International. From one prosecutor to another, thank you for sharing your experience, particularly in terms of the use of technology that is a survival in human center. Thank you so much. I believe we should now hear from the founder of Just Rights for Children, Mr. Gohan Raimu, who I understand has to deliver a statement to video since we're still challenged with traveling restrictions currently. May I ask that the video, please?
Namaste. Your Excellencies, friends and colleagues. First and foremost, I would like to thank Dr. Fatima Dio as well as the organizers of this very important conversation today. Technology is a double-edged sword. On one side, the advancements of technology have ensured that everyone in the world feels connected to it. But on the other, it has also meant that no child with a smartphone in the world is safe. Anywhere, every child has become vulnerable. And that is why it is needed for all of us to come together and use the advancements of our knowledge, of our technology, of our resources to ensure the safety and protection of our future, the protection of our children. What is children? On one side, there is vulnerability. From vulnerability, there is an entire journey towards a child being a victim of a crime. And from the victim, there is an entire journey towards becoming a survivor. From vulnerability to victim, from victim to survivor, at every stage, technology has a very important role. A child victim of sexual abuse may be abused within the sanctity of our homes. He or she may be abused in a commercial setting in the form of trafficking. He or she may be abused in a cultural setting in the form of child marriage. And he or she may be abused in the online spaces. The world community today has the knowledge to create international databases of sex offenders. We have the knowledge to create international databases of traffickers. We have the technology to actually develop heat maps that predict vulnerability, and they can preempt and prevent trafficking from taking place. In small pockets of the world, this is already happening. In India, on one side, we have been able to create heat maps of where traffickers become operational and who are the known traffickers. And on the other, as soon as they book their railway tickets, the Railway Protection Force is able to identify, arrest, and prosecute them so that the child is saved before being exploited. Similarly, under the aegis of the NITI Aayog, the Planning Commission of India, children who are vulnerable to being married off early are identified if they are dropping out of school. And there is no reason why every country in the world cannot create their own respective national data grids of attendance monitoring. Technology is a tool that must aid and abet the rule of law and not crime. When we are able to create policies with urgency in action, when we are able to create technological tools that are able to rehabilitate children on the basis of identification of their personality traits, when we are able to create reformation frameworks, when we share intelligence, when we share successes, when we even share our failures with each other, we take a step towards the protection of our future. And that today, my dear friends, is possible. If we fail to protect our children today, nothing else we do in life matters. The global advancements of economy, the global advancements of knowledge, the global advancements of development, all must support the human capital. They must support the children. They must support our future, and that is why the protection of children through the use of technology is the biggest need of the hour for all of us today. Let us come together, work in partnership. Let us create behavior change models for children and parents and communities so that the shame which is today associated with being a victim of a crime is shifted. That shame shifts, that blame shifts, that the agency is given to the child. And at the end of the day, the monitoring and accountability frameworks for each level of government operations, as well as creating that deterrent messaging for the perpetrator, is all supplemented through the use of technology. So, in a nutshell, what I'm saying is, what is needed is a global will. We have all gathered with this same resolve. Let us go back to our respective communities and countries. Let us pledge to work together, and let us create that global technological framework for the protection of our children. Thank you once again for having me here, and thank you for organizing this very important consultation. Thank you.
We thank Mr. Juan Raigo, the founder for Just Rights for Children, and the whole of the organization for their work, and certainly for his statement. Technology to aid and abate the rule of law and not crime. That's a powerful statement. In all of the statements that we've had in the opening from our co-sponsors and organizers, we've seen demonstration of what can work in specific context in California, in India, certainly in Romania. And then what I can say to you is that mostly when you talk about technology and projects, they ask for proof of concept. I have good news for you. In Sierra Leone, there is no better proof of concept. In Africa, there is no better proof of concept. And globally, there is no better proof of concept than our keynote speaker. She's been a champion at the national level, at the continental level, as I said, and at the global level. Hands Up Our Girls campaign is not only significant in Sierra Leone, but in Africa and the globe. Introducing the resolution, the draft resolution A/77/8 took place at the plenary of the United Nations General Assembly. These are examples of the many, many things which you agree with me have been accomplished by our keynote speaker. I've also been advised that when you have a global icon, you do not introduce the global icon, you present the global icon. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it is really an honor to invite Her Excellency Dr. Fatima Madabio, First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone and President of UNHRD, to deliver the keynote address. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much. I don't know if I'm a global icon. I just know I'm a tireless voice and fearless voice for our world today. Our distinguished moderator, who happens to be our ambassador, so definitely you expect him to praise me when I'm seated. Mr. Ambassador, thank you for such a generous introduction. Our co-sponsors from the Mission of Romania, Greece, Optimist International, and the founder of Just Right. Let me say, you've just, I don't know, I'm not always that moved when people give me analysis, because I am not someone of, I don't have the enough knowledge or understanding of analysis when it has to do with numbers and figures. I just want to get the job done. For being was it you were former judge or a lawyer? Prosecutor. Then it makes me understand why it just captivates me completely, and I'm thinking, is that really happening? Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I'm really, really grateful because you have enlightened me again this morning. Her Excellency, Ms. Naima Ben Yahia. Did I get that right? Yeah? If I don't bear with me, it's morning. Even though it's Ramadan, in the morning, you have to have breakfast to be able to do everything right. Excellencies, honorable ministers here present, distinguished delegates, development partners, representatives of our civil societies, and esteemed colleagues and friends, a very good morning to you all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. It is an honor to join you at this important gathering on access to justice for survivors of sexual violence using digital technologies. Today, we advance the United Nations resolutions led by Sierra Leone and Japan in 2022. That resolution was more than a diplomatic achievement. It affirmed that survivors of sexual violence deserve genuine access to justice and that innovations can help overcome long-standing barriers of stigma, fear, and remoteness. As the late Kofi Annan, blessed memory, reminded us, knowledge is power. Information is liberating. Today, digital technology gives us the power to liberate survivors from silence and isolation and to bring justice within reach. For Sierra Leone, this resolution strikes close to home. We know all too well the heartbroken caused by sexual and gender-based violence. Yet, we have chosen not to accept it as our fate. Sexual and gender-based violence remain one of our nation's most serious human rights challenges. Each year, thousands of girls, thousands of cases are reported, with over 60% involving children under the age of 18. These statistics represent real individuals whose future depends on our response here today. I carry with me the story of a young girl I met during a community outreach visit. She was only 14 years old, soft-spoken, eye-lowered. She told me, I thought no one would believe me. I thought no one would believe me. It was better to stay quiet. Why should a girl stay quiet when she has been abused? Her words have never left me. They remind us that behind every statistics is a child who needs protection, a survivor who needs justice, and a community that must not fail them. In response to this crisis, Sierra Leone has strengthened laws, empowered specialized police units, expanded survival services, and improved our justice system to ensure accountability and protection. In 2019, His Excellency President Julius Maada Bio, our dynamic president, declared rape and sexual violence as a national emergency. That declaration was followed by strengthening legal reforms, including amendment of the Sexual Offences Act, increasing penalties for perpetrators, and removing bail provisions for rape victims or rape cases. We have expanded family support units within our police forces. Our one-stop centers now provide integrated medical, psychosocial, and legal support to survivors. We are also working to increase prosecutions rate and reduce case backlog. But we know that true access to justice requires more than laws. It must be accessible, efficient, safe, and trustworthy. Across Africa today, millions of women and children continue to experience sexual and gender-based violence. Research shows that many women and girls in sub-Saharan Africa will face such violence, yet reporting it remains low. Prosecutions are inconsistent, and survivors encounter stigma and significant barriers. This challenge stems not from a lack of commitment, but from the limited resources, infrastructural gaps, and deeply rooted social norms. Yet today, we stand at a moment of possibilities. digital technology, when used responsibly, ethically, and inclusively, can transform the landscape of justice. Secure mobile platforms can reach remote areas. Digital case management can reduce backlogs. Data system can improve accountabilities. Remote legal assistance can increase access. Technology empowers survivors to seek justice safely and confidently. But technology alone is not the solution. It must be grounded in trust, privacy, accessibility, and equity. It must be designed with survivors not just for them, and it must be supported by strong laws, trained personnel, and system that protects rather than traumatizes. As president of the development of African First Ladies, I urge my colleagues, African First Ladies, to prioritize access to justice for survivors of sexual violence within our continental agenda. We hold a unique position as advocates and as a vital link between communities and government. United through offline, our collective voices is powerful. Let us commit to championing the demonstration and implementation of the 2022 resolution within our national framework, advocating for digital justice infrastructure in our country's budgetary priorities, promoting survivor-centered policies that protect confidentiality and dignity, strengthening cross-border collaboration to combat trafficking and transnational sexual crimes. We also have to leverage our platform to shift harmful social norms and to end the culture of silence. Sierra Leone stands ready to share our experience from legal reforms and the Hands of Our Girls campaign to improve in survival services and the integration of digital tools in our justice system. But no country can do this alone. To our development partners and the global communities here present, I ask for you, for your support, help us build capacity, invest in our digital infrastructure, promote cross-border cooperations, and establish systems that protect survivors and hold perpetrators accountable. We must ensure that no survivor is denied justice due to geographical location, that every child has a way to report, and that no perpetrator escape accountability because of system failure. Justice is a right, not a privilege. Africa seeks genuine partnership, not benevolent authority. We call for investment in digital infrastructure, capacity building, ethical technology use, and sustainable funding. When justice is delayed, denied, or stripped of accountability, it fails. Africa's survivors are not numbers. They are leaders, they are innovators, and future trailblazers. They deserve systems that protect them and hold offenders to account swiftly and surely. As Nelson Mandela taught us, it always seems impossible until it is done. Let this be the dawn of a new era of unity across Africa and the world. Let Africa move forward confidently using technology to advance justice. Let us turn our communities into coordinated action. Together, we send a clear message. Sexual violence will not be tolerated and impunity will not persist. The 2022 resolution provided a global framework. Let us move from promises to action, from policies to protection, and from words to justice. Together, we can use technology to restore dignity, ensure accountability, and inspire hope. Survivors are watching us, and our future generation depend on the decisions that we make for them today. Let's not fail them. And I want to take this opportunity again to thank our co-sponsors, to thank Morocco for standing with us, and every one of you for being here this morning. May God bless you. Thank you very much.
Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone, and the President of OFLA, who spoke not only in sharing Sierra Leone's experience, but a call on the African First Ladies to really put forward programs and implement Resolution A/76/304. Indeed, Your Excellency, Madam First Lady, I work as the ambassador, but the good book also says that we should give honor to who honor is due. And so when we celebrate you, particularly for the reason in which the 14-year-old was bold enough to say to you that I thought no one would believe me. That 14-year-old was brave enough and saw in you the leader that you could speak to, and for you for championing this important voice. And so for your tireless voice, we'll continue to celebrate you in all that you do. Thank you for that very robust call. Indeed, it may always seem impossible until it is done, and you've demonstrated and shown proof of concept, and you've been us in charge today. From your keynote address, I'm very pleased to move on to Her Excellency Ms. Naima Ben Yaya, Minister of Solidarity, Social Integration and Family, Government of the Kingdom of Morocco, to deliver high-level remarks, and she will speak in Arabic, so please you can grab onto your headset for interpretation. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
شكرا جزيلا. سعادة السيدة الوزراء دولة سيراليون، السيدة فاطمة ملابيو، سعادة سفير دولة سيراليون الشقيقة، حضرات السيدات والسادة. أود بداية أن أتقدم بالشكر الجزيل لدولة سيراليون الشقيقة على الدعوة الكريمة لحضور هذا اللقاء رفيع المستوى الذي يتناول موضوعا شديد الأهمية، ويسعدني أن أتقاسم معكم تجربة بلدي في هذا الصدد. المملكة المغربية تحت القيادة الرشيدة لصاحب الجلالة الملك محمد السادس حفظه الله جعلت من النهوض بحقوق النساء وتأسيس حمايته من ضمن الأولويات، وترجم ذلك عن طريق
Your Excellency, Honorable Minister, I just want to check to make sure that we're having
interpretation.
the interpretation correctly. It's on now. Channel 3, please. Channel 3, everyone.
Channel 1? 1.
Channel 1.
ويسعدني أن أتقاسم معكم تجربة بلدي المملكة المغربية في هذا الصدد. المملكة المغربية تحت القيادة الرشيدة لصاحب الجلالة الملك محمد السادس حفظه الله جعلت من النهوض بحقوق النساء وتعزيز حمايتهن من ضمن الأولويات، وترجمت ذلك عن طريق عدد من المداخل، منها المدخل القانوني والمدخل المؤسساتي والمدخل التثقيفي والتوعوي. المدخل القانوني تجسد من خلال قانون متعلق بمحاربة العنف ضد النساء الذي حدد مفهوم العنف تحديدا دقيقا، ونص على المبادئ الأساسية المؤتمنة في مواجهة هذه الظاهرة والمتمثلة في زجر مرتكب العنف والوقاية منه وحماية الضحايا وتوفير آليات التكفل به، كما تجسد من خلال إلغاء عدد من المقتضيات التمييزية في كل من القانون الجنائي وقانون المسطرة الجنائية ومدونة الأسرة على سبيل المثال. حضرات السيدات والسادة، لقد اعتمد المغرب في التعاطي مع ظاهرة العنف ضد النساء بما فيه الجنسي مقاربة مندمجة تقوم على 4 مرتكزات متكاملة تربط فيه ما بين الوقاية عبر التربية والتثقيف وتغيير صور النمطية، والحماية من خلال تعزيز الآليات القانونية والمؤسساتية، والتكفل عبر تطوير خدمات الكل الاقتصادي والاجتماعي باعتباره مدخلا أساسيا للوقاية المستدامة. وشكل إعلان مراكش الذي أطلقته الأميرة الجديدة ليلى مريم خارطة طريق استطاعت تعبئة مختلف المتدخلين مع تتبع وتنفيذ واضح وفق مؤشرات واضحة للتتبع وللتقييم. وإدراكا بأهمية التحول الرقمي في تحسين النجاعة والشفافية والسرعة في التفاعل مع طلبات النساء وخاصة ضحايا العنف بمختلف أنواعه بما فيه الاتجار بالبشر كجريمة عابرة للحدود، تم إحداث منصة كلنا معك للاستماع والدعم والتوجيه لفائدة النساء والفتيات في وضعية هشة، مفتوحة طبعا 24 ساعة على 24 ساعة طيلة أيام الأسبوع عن طريق خط هاتفي مباشر وكذا تطبيق ذكي يتم تحميله مجانا عبر الهاتف المحمول. وتهدف هذه المبادرة إلى النهوض بحقوق المرأة وحمايتها من أي انتهاك عبر توفير خدمة الاستماع والتوجيه من طرف عدد من الأخصائيين الاجتماعيين والنفسيين، وذلك لفائدة فئتين من النساء والفئات في وضعيتهم هشة. الفئة الأولى من أجل الإبلاغ عن أي اعتداء أو عنف يتعرضن له وإرشادهن وتوجيههن إلى المصالح المعنية حسب كل حالة، إما النيابة العامة أو مصالح الأمن الوطني أو الطرف المدني، لا سيما الحالات التي تتطلب تدخلا استئجابيا. الفئة الثانية من أجل طلب الدعم أو التوجيه أو الإرشاد بشأن فرصة للشغل أو للتكوين أو تكوين مالي أو مقاولة أو مشروع مدر للدخل على المستوى المحلي أو الجهوي، وذلك بترجمة قناعتنا بأن الاستقلالية الاقتصادية عامل أساسي لرفض العنف من طرف الناجيات. كما تم إطلاق خدمة الشكاية الإلكترونية والتي تتيح وضع شكايات النساء وتتبع مآلها عن بعد انطلاقا من الموقع الإلكتروني لرئاسة النيابة العامة. وتعزيزا لتوفير الآليات الرقمية الموجهة للنساء والفتيات ضحايا العنف، تم تعزيز هذه الشبكة من الآليات خلال الحملة الأخيرة حملة 16 يوما لوقف العنف ضد النساء لسنة 2025 للمنظومة الرقمية أمان لك لتسهيل ولوج النساء إلى خدمات التبليغ والإيمان لنساء ضحايا العنف، وكذا لضمان سرعة التفاعل مع الحالات وتعزيز تتبعها على المستوى المركزي والترابي والمحلي. واعتبارا بما تطرحه الرقمنة من تحديات مرتبطة بحماية الخصوصية وأمن المعطيات الشخصية، فقد تم الحرص في تطوير المنظومة الرقمية على اعتماد مجموعة من الضمانات القانونية والتقنية التي تضمن حماية المعطيات ذات الطابع الشخصي للنساء ضحايا العنف، وذلك في انسجام تام مع مقتضيات القانون المتعلق بحماية الأشخاص الذاتيين تجاه معالجة المعطيات ذات الطابع الشخصي، حيث تم حصر الولوج إلى هذه الآلية في نطاق الجهات المختصة بالتكفل مع احترام المبادئ السرية والحد الأدنى من جمع المعلومات وضمان موافقة المعني بالأمر على معالجة بياناتها، إضافة إلى اعتبار بروتوكولات تقنية لحماية المعطيات من أي استعمال غير مشروع أو تسريب محتمل. كما تجدر الإشارة ويجري حاليا العمل على ملائمة مختلف الخدمات الرقمية المرتبطة بالتكفل بنساء ضحايا العنف مع المعايير الوطنية والدولية لحماية البيانات، بما يضمن ولوج النساء إلى خدمات الدعم والعدالة في بيئة رقمية آمنة ومحترمة لخصوصيتهم. حضرات السيدات والسادة، رغم المكتسبات التي حققناها في المملكة المغربية، إلا أن التقدم الحقيقي لا يمكن أن يكتمل دون تحول ثقافي. لذلك لا زالت بعض الحواجز الثقافية تحول دون القضاء النهائي على العنف ضد النساء. لذلك نعمل حاليا على إعداد برنامج خطة وطنية لمحاربة الصور النمطية ونشر ثقافة المساواة برؤية استراتيجية تستهدف تفكيك ما ينتج التمييز ويعيد إنتاجه، خاصة في التعليم وفي الإعلام وداخل الأسرة وفي الشغل وفي الفضاء العام عبر إطار وطني واضح صغير وقابل للقياس والتتبع تقوم فيه مكونات المجتمع المدني بدور هام. في الختام أجدد الشكر لدولة سيراليون على إتاحتنا هذه الفرصة لتقاسم تجربة المملكة المغربية، وأتمنى التوفيق والنجاح لكافة اجتماعاتكم، والسلام عليكم.
I thank Excellency Leone for sharing the rich experience of the Kingdom of Morocco, from electronic complaint system to access to databases that really guarantees and safeguard privacy, to the presentation of the national plan to eliminate discrimination in the media workplace and other important areas. It's really a valuable experience to share, and one of the objectives of the resolution that was adopted by the General Assembly to improve international cooperation and access to justice. Now, we've heard from our partners, Her Excellency Madam First Lady, President of Auckland, and from the Kingdom of Morocco. And an important component in this fight is certainly the work and voices of civil society. But before you hear from civil society, there's going to be a music interlude.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, Your
And
Excellency.
we know the greatest part of our musician for today, Mr. Daisy. Please.
Thank you so much. And yes, I am civil society. As a musician, as a composer, Dr. Judy and I are moved by very powerful voices. And a very powerful voice that we have recognized since 2019 is Her Excellency, Dr. Fatima, and the program, not only in Africa, but worldwide, Hands Up Our Girls. So we were moved to write an anthem, rich song, but powerfully supportive of her most powerful voice, because we believe in the voices of women and girls. And yes, I will, please. This song I have sung in Malaysia, New Zealand, and Qatar, and it was played at a NAIAD event in Phuket House, because this message, my dearest Madam First Lady, is so powerful. So I'm going to ask that the music video be played. You can put the lights down. It includes your flag. Bless the people of Sierra Leone for their heart. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your love and your protection of all children, women, girls, and young boys. Thank you. Hands up. Please turn up the volume.
Hands up, girls, they're the future of our country, for our world. Hands up, girls, they're the love of our life, future of our country, for our world. Keep them hard, protect them from hate. Hands up, our girls, no time to wait. Protect our girls, support them each day as they make miracles and magic for our world every way. Of our country and for our world. Intelligent minds, beautiful souls, loving and kind as they reach for the goals. Farmer or banker, nurse or preacher, merchant or lawyer, designer or teacher, the president of our nation. Anything's possible with good education. Hands up for girls and the love of our life. Future of our country, for our world. Honor our girls with a seat at the table. They certainly will.
that Dr. Judy and I wrote that together in 2019, and we debuted it at a side event during the GA with the First Lady, and I believe 12 ambassadors, probably the most auspicious side event ever from all over the world. I will be singing another song that Dr. Judy and I wrote a little later. But thank you so much, and thank you for your heart, your mind, and your spirit, Madam First Lady. Thank you.
Live stream.
Live stream.
Yeah.
Which country?
You too.
Excellent. It's always refreshing to hear the really important links, manifestation again about the work that has been done through the hands of our girls. But it's not longer a campaign, it's a movement, it's a way of life. It's really a call to action. It's everything you can think about in elevating the plight of women in addressing an important issue relating to our girls. And it's really a good segue into the interventions by civil society. And it really gives me great pleasure to invite the co-author of that important song. To kick off the intervention by civil society, I give the floor to Dr. Judy Koyansky, expert International Association of Applied Psychology, and many more, including advisor to the Family Division of Sierra Leone.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, and to everyone welcome here. You referred to the First Lady as a global icon. Okay, I'm going to add another phrase, and that is a superpower. Yeah, a superpower. I heard that word said in Addis at the meeting of UFLAD, of which the First Lady is president, and she is indeed a superpower. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that she has been doing, which the ambassador has already mentioned, but elaborate and show you some photos about it, and how she is indeed a powerhouse. I want to put this in the context of what's going on in the UN. As the ambassador said, I actually have been here for 22 years on both sides of the aisle, so to speak. And so if we could show the first slide, I'll skip to my presentation there, that the access to justice, there's the First Lady, she was actually on CNN, that's a picture of her on CNN the other day, talking about early marriage, and some issues about legality. So the next slide shows that there is indeed SDG 16, which provides for access to justice for all, and ending child abuse and exploitation and torture of children, and in 16.3, the rule of law. So these are frameworks at the UN that really put in context all the work that the First Lady is doing, and that we've even heard that Morocco is doing, and we've heard indeed about also Romania. So another of the frameworks that is really important here at the UN is the Pact for the Future. Now the SDGs was done, of course, in 2014 and 15. I was very proud to be part of that negotiation, being there. And now last year was the passage of the Pact for the Future, which also calls for access to justice. As you see up there, that's the cover of it, promises to address structural barriers to justice, ensuring accountability for perpetrators, which the First Lady has been very effective in doing, that I'll show in a minute, and ensuring that there is survivors can safely report crimes, which is so important.
access to legal aid, and of course, increasing finances. If we don't have the money, we can't do that. Now, with regard, the next slide shows that there is a serious problem with women and girls having no legal protection from digital violence, which is such an important issue here. 1.8 billion, that's a very big number. And a major issue that we need to pay attention to now for all of these techies in the room is deep fakes, which, how many people know about deep fakes, which is affecting women and girls more disproportionately. And in the next slide, we see the other framework that is so important for what the First Lady has accomplished, and that is the policy, the first policy about the Global Digital Compact, which is within the Pact for the Future. And in that Global Digital Compact, which I was also glad to participate in the negotiation about, Principle 7 is called Gender Equality and Empowerment of all women and girls. That's essential for their future, and outlines similarly the importance of protecting girls, specifically with regard to the digital technologies that are going on now. Now, if we see the next slide, we see something very important that has happened in Sierra Leone, the first country. Sierra Leone is the first in many ways, thanks to the mission here, thanks to the embassy, thanks to certainly the First Lady and President Biya. And in fact, Sierra Leone was the first country in order to adopt this very interesting gender-based violence information systems plus. What is the plus? The plus stands for that this information systems is actually an in the cloud system, so that things, all the reporting can be collated and that can be put in a place that we can really access it. And thanks to Sierra Leone for being first country to adopt this countrywide. So now it is really, the next slide shows you that many civil society initiatives, since the ambassador was mentioning that, are also on board about access to justice, specifically in peace and conflict settings for girls. Now this is very important because the First Lady is the president of UFLAD, the Office of the African First Ladies for Development, and their focus is a lot on conflict settings, and so there are civil societies that care about that, ensuring that perpetrators are held accountable, which the First Lady has also done, and that they have access to justice. So if we see the next slide, the Secretary General is also on board about this, that he has made a priority about violence against women and girls, and if you see in the next slide, his campaign is Unite, show the next slide please, Unite to End Violence, and you see there that ending child marriage, which the First Lady is certainly a pioneer about, is one of the parts of his ending digital violence, because this is so important now. And by the way, is anybody wearing orange? I'm wearing Sierra Leone colors. Whoever's wearing orange, orange is declared as the color of sexual rights for women, actually. In the next slide now, what we see here is that if you walk the halls of the UN, you will see exhibits about these issues that are really important. And in the next slide, I get you what the problems are on both ends. Laws that are inadequate or not enforced, victims not reporting, 40% only 40% seeking help, 10% calling the police, and if they report, the complaint is dismissed. And as a psychologist, I have 3 S's about that. There is shame, stigma, and silence on the part of reporting, and specifically girls. And so in the next slide, we see the Hands Off Our Girls campaign we had many events during COVID. As you see, we're wearing our masks there. And many of the projects that the First Lady is doing, including the distributions of free sanitary pads so that girls can go to school, which is really important, and education is part of her OFLET initiative. On the next slide, what you see here is the national accomplishment by the First Lady that the ambassador mentioned before. This is so important that actually this woman who is sitting in front of us has actually created a movement where Parliament was supportive of her efforts to prohibit child marriage, and that then this was enacted by the President that you see there signing into law the Prohibition of Child Marriage Act in 2024. Now, how this is so important, the initiative, the superpower, the global icon that we heard before, that this woman has made this happen, and that this now needs to spread in other countries. And I'm going to show you something very quickly about that shortly soon. So, next slide, please. Now, another major accomplishment that this woman in front of us has done, to manage to get a General Assembly resolution passed. This is not easy, right, Ambassador? Not easy. Thank you for backing me up. I mean, it is astounding. And you see the First Lady of Turkey there, really helping. Thank you very much. And Nigeria also helping, and some civil society organizations, but majorly because of this global icon in front of us, who got a resolution passed about the international cooperation for access to justice, remedies and assistance for survivors of sexual violence. This is so major, and she even mentioned herself how this needs to grow and then be adopted in other countries. So in the next slide, we see here, if you just press on that, I just want to show you, not the whole video, but part of it. Just click on the picture and it'll show up where you click. Can you click on the photo and then the little triangle? Yeah, just click there. What about the sound? Can you hear the sound? This is at the United Nations. Okay, let's forget about it, because we don't hear the sound. Let's move on. I don't have too many slides left, so. Okay, so this is something else I want to show you that's really important. So some of us, Russell, here you just heard about this one. Ziva Bakar, who has her own foundation also for girls, the Bakar Foundation in Pakistan, and I were in Doha, fortunately before everything broke out, and so this was, and what we were doing is showing a major video of the First Lady's work. The Hands Off Our Girls program, all the things I just talked about. It was streaming on that screen you see there, because you could see her. And this was at an exhibit at the Second World Summit for Social Development. And so what I want to say about this that's so important, and I'll probably wrap up with this, is that at this exhibit hall, you see all those people who showed up at our booth. And we were showing the video about all the accomplishments of the First Lady. And those people from all over, not only Africa, but other continents, were coming up to saying, what is she doing? That's amazing. How did she get that done? How could we do that in our country? And so this is really significant. Isn't this significant that this is spreading? And we're going to take that further, too. Yes, all right. Okay. And so, I'm going to end with the video. If you could just, I hope the sound plays. If not, it's fine. This is a woman who is a lawyer, by the way, from an African country. You see her there talking to me saying, this is astounding what the First Lady is doing. I want this in my country. I need to find out how we get this done in my country. And so thank you for everything that you are doing. How important you are, the superpower and the global icon.
I want to thank Dr. Judy for really the very powerful presentation, reminding us of the important work that has been done by our global champion icon, the superpower. I forgot to inform you at the beginning that she's also a professor at the Columbia University Teachers College, so of course a substantive presentation, and thank you for that. Thank you also for reminding us that indeed it was stated clearly in Madam First Lady's statement that we do have the champion, he or she, that is His Excellency Dr. Julius Madabio, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, has been supportive of the work of Her Excellency Madam First Lady from day one. I also thank you for reminding us of the partnerships that we have with Turkey, with Nigeria, with Japan, on these many important initiatives which we've got to do at the United Nations General Assembly. From that, we move on to the other civil society speakers. Now I'm going to use my gavel because I'm going to invite you to try to visit and intervene in the agreed time frame so that we're able to listen to everyone and perhaps open the floor to hear from a few interventions from the floor. I'll first invite Shahil Norris. She has dedicated the last 26 years of her career to ending sexual violence. 10 years ago, she co-founded Safe BAE, Safe Bay, with a group of survivors who all experienced sexual assault at the age of 14. Uplifting and empowering the voice of young people is the core tenet of our work. Ms. Shahil Norris, thank you for your work, and you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I actually want to hand it over to my programs manager, director, to speak first.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ayla Mansman. I am a soon-to-be graduate of Manhattanville University and serve as the Director of Programs and Outreach at Safe Bay, where I've worked for the last 8 years. Safe Bay is the only survivor-founded, youth-led organization in the U.S. working to prevent sexual violence among teens. And the Bay, BAE stands for Before Anyone Else. We equip young people with the tools to prevent harm, support their peers, and drive generational culture change, strengthening mental health, uplifting youth leadership, and creating safer school communities. Our co-founders knew from the beginning our messengers were going to be just as important as our message. My timeline with the organization is a testament to just that. I first joined as a club leader at 14 years old, and now at 21, I find myself rapidly aging out of the demographic, while having the privilege to work closely with hundreds of youth leaders that are undoubtedly the future of this work. 2/3 of Safe Bay's board of directors are under the age of 25. This is not an advisory board or a youth council. All of Safe Bay's programs, the creation and delivery of our materials, and the direction of our organization are all driven by that board. Since the inception of our organization, we've understood that if we want to end a lifetime of intimate partner violence, university violence, workplace harassment, domestic violence, etc., we have to start prevention at the origin with young people. On a global level, we have always called this category of conflict gender-based violence. I would like my generation to be the first to identify it more accurately as a public health crisis, and even more specifically as a mental health crisis amongst teens, because sexual violence impacts everyone. The 2023 U.S. Youth Risk Behavior Survey finally identified sexual violence and suicidal ideation amongst teens as being intrinsically connected. Around the globe, young people are seeking honest and authentic early intervention education, focusing on consent, healthy relationships, bystander intervention, and their rights in the justice system. Justice comes in many forms. For a survivor, their access to justice may begin with being able to tell a friend or a family member and being believed. It may mean being supported by their community and not facing rumors and shame. Reporting to law enforcement and being treated with respect and dignity. Or standing before a judge and jury whose understanding of sexual violence has been informed by more than the harmful media messages and generations of cultural framing that blame survivors for being assaulted. Every single barrier in accessing justice needs to be addressed, and that begins with education starting in early development. It means breaking through the taboos of each culture that tell us we shouldn't speak to young people about sexual violence, because our ideas of healthy relationships are already being shaped by the flawed examples provided by society, our elders, and media. If we can begin by providing my generation with education, access to healing resources, and community support, justice will follow. Thank you.
the introduction, and thank you to the organizers for creating this space for such an important dialogue. My name is Shale Norris, and I'm the founding executive director of Safe Bay. I'm so inspired to share this stage and be in community with global leaders in this work. May the dedication and visionary leadership of our excellency inspire other governments to invest in shared solutions that provide prevention, education, and justice resources for survivors across the globe. Everything Ayla spoke to are the foundations of our work. We need to combat this issue on so many fronts: education, cultural influence, and the primary thing we're here to focus on today, technology. Specifically, the ways to use technology to give survivors access and options in seeking justice. Survivors deserve more than to be believed. They deserve trauma-informed tools that give them the power to document their experiences on their own terms and the autonomy to decide what they want to do with that information. Among the many resources that Safe Bay provides, we offer a free, encrypted, anonymous reporting tool that gives any young survivor a time-stamped record and the autonomy to decide if and when to share it, whether with school officials or law enforcement. The tool also includes a repeat perpetrator identification component, so survivors can know if there is a history of violence from the person who harmed them. But this type of tool requires broad adoption and free accessibility. School partners to embed it in their student resources and make it easily accessible. Civic partners to invite their networks to share it widely. And we need every government to broadly adopt these resources to enable survivors anywhere, in any circumstances, to report and access justice and healing. Ultimately, justice looks different for every survivor, and access to resources, whether for justice or healing, should never be the barrier that stands between them and their next step forward. Meeting survivors where they are is how we move this work forward. That's why we are proud to be evolving our resources to include another completely free digital component. Innovation even. Our newest tool will be released globally this May, VibeCheck. VibeCheck is a no-cost, human-driven resource available to anyone on the internet, allowing them to ask anonymous questions about intimate partner relationships and help them to understand if they have caused harm, how to take accountability, and to learn how to not cause harm again. But again, this is human-driven and populated by 10 years of on-the-ground work with young people that has informed all of our evidence-based resources. It is not an AI solution and cannot be done responsibly by AI. Because prevention is about interrupting cycles, reducing recidivism, requires honest conversations, and VibeCheck creates the space for those conversations to happen safely, at no cost, privately, and accessibly for anyone, anywhere in the world. This is our answer to the call young survivors have been making for generations, saying, I just wanted them to say they were sorry and to not do it to anyone else. Thank you again for having us, and we look forward to this being just the beginning of partnerships that can support this work being cohesive across all countries.
Child Norris and Ayla Mansman, thank you for sharing the important work that you do and the tools that you really come forward with. You ended with the right word, an important word, partnership moving forward, and we look forward really to working with you and using the resources which you've developed. From Safe Bay, I'll move on to our next speaker, Ms. Zainab Eyiga, MSc founder and executive director of Setu Yetu Center for African Women. She is unwavering in a vision of a world starting in New York City, where each and every person achieves their full potential. She provides strategic guidance and oversees daily operations of Setu Yetu, while also engaging in national public policy advocacy and training. You have the floor, please.
Thank you so much. Good morning. It's a privilege, and thank you so much, Your Excellency, for having me in this critical conversation. As I said, my name is Zainab Eyiga. I work here in New York City. But this morning, I wanted to spend my minutes to talk about my work that is with the refugees in Uganda, South Sudan, and Kenya. I'm originally from Sudan, but for the last month, I've been doing work with refugee women and girls in Uganda. And the issue of sexual violence, as many of you know in this room in Sudan, is critical. It's rampant. It's been one of the war crimes that we're documenting. But when we talk about digital literacy, for a lot of women, not only in the refugee camps but rural areas, it's not only just about access, but it's also lack of resources. Let me give you an example. In one of the refugee camps, a lot of women and girls don't actually have basic equipment like cell phones. Buying a cell phone in Uganda is very expensive. You have to pay for the minutes. You have to refill the minutes. So that's one. If you don't have a cell phone, you can't communicate. If you don't have a cell phone, you can't document what's happening to you on a daily basis. So when we talk about, documenting, reporting, and accountability, we also have to talk about access to those resources and equipment for poor, especially poor women and refugee women. And then there is also, lack of, methods of reporting. Who do you report to? There's no infrastructure for reporting. There's no systems, no 1-800 number. Like for example, here in my work, I work with sexual violence survivors here in New York City, and sometimes I'm on call at night. But when I'm in the refugee camps, there's no 800 number to call. There's nowhere to go. Sometimes even when you take a survivor to the hospital, they can't even document or collect, the rape kit, the sexual assault kit, so that that information can take and lead to prosecution. So that's one. And then two, there is just the desire not to prosecute perpetrators. There is this cultural amnesia, as Dr. Judy said, that shame. Because again, sexual violence is not only targeting an individual, a girl, it actually targets the whole family. That shame is, required by the family. That shame is held by the whole, community. And then we have, in the refugee camps, we've had actually young girls who've given birth to children based on rape. And that is a stigma that they carry on a long time. But I wanted to end my talk by saying that it's not only just digital literacy, but it's lack of access, lack of resources, and for poor women in rural areas and refugee camps, not having the digital equipment limits their ability to actually protect themselves and limits their ability to actually report the crimes that are committed against them. Thank you so much.
I really want to thank Ms. Zina Bayaga for really the important work that you do, particularly with vulnerable women and girls, double victimization, and you can even say triple victimization for the lack of access, not only that they live in a conflict situation or they be refugees, but also having suffered sexual violence and having lack access to the tools for reporting and addressing the issues and, of course, ensuring accountability. So thank you so much for your important work. I now move on to the Senior Director of Safe Horizon, to Ms. Kimberlina Caven, who's currently the Senior Director of Safe Horizon's Crime Victim Assistance Program, and has spent 16 years working with survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and other violent crime. She facilitates a variety of training in her role and has trained across the country on a variety of topics, including self-care and impacts on workers who serve victims of trauma. For your important work, I give you the floor.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Your Excellency, for the invitation today. It's an honor to be surrounded by experts in the field. My name is Kim Cavern. I am a, thank you. I work for Safe Horizon. I've been there almost 20 years. Safe Horizon is the nation's largest victim services agency based here in New York City. We serve survivors of all types of crime, predominantly survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault, but we serve victims of any crime across New York City. The program that I oversee is our Crime Victim Assistance Program. That program specifically places advocates in every police precinct across New York City. So there are 86 precincts. We have a domestic violence victim advocate and a crime victim advocate in every precinct. Our advocates get all of the police reports that were filed in that precinct, and we make outreach calls to every victim. The need for this program is great. We are the only program in the United States that pairs advocates with police departments. The advocates do not work for the police department. So we are not employees of the New York City Police Department. We're employees of a nonprofit organization, and that allows us to provide victim-centered, trauma-informed work to survivors, whether or not they want to proceed in the criminal justice system. We know, and I've been humbled by the remarks of so many today to be reminded that this crisis is worldwide and that we still have so much work to do, and I'm also inspired by all of the work that has been done. We know that the criminal justice system is just one piece of a larger quilt of justice that should be available to survivors, but our work within the criminal justice system specifically needs to be victim-centered, and it needs to be based on the needs of victims, and that's where our work comes in. We're there to listen to survivors. We know that they also often have many other needs they're dealing with other than the intimate partner violence. So they may be also experiencing things like housing instability or food insecurity. And so we want to make sure that we can help them meet all of those needs, because if you don't know where your next meal is coming from, you may not, the violence that's being committed against you may not be your first priority. So we want to help meet all of the needs that those survivors are facing when they come to our office. Our agency is also in the courts, so we are in all of the family and criminal courts in New York City to provide similar services, meeting victims. We know that there really, despite the advancements in technology, there is a huge gap in communication between the criminal justice system and survivors are often left in the dark about the cases in which they are the victim and the primary witness. So our job in the court is to be an intermediary between the system and those survivors and make sure that they have informed information, and to also provide them with as much control as possible. One area where we've really been integral with this is the statewide advocate system petition system. So our advocates were actually the very first in New York State to file these petitions. The system allows advocates to file for orders of protection on behalf of victims rather than the system doing it. So as we know, when a victim walks into a court and is requesting an order of protection, they often are in the dark about the process. They don't know the safety concerns that they may be faced with. They are not informed of how long these processes can take. So our advocates can meet with the victims first, have an informed, thorough conversation about what this process looks like, to talk about safety as it relates to order of protection, to let the clients make an informed decision about how they want to move forward. And if they do choose to move forward, we can draft those petitions so that they are filed in a victim-centered way that really relates the client's experience to the court. And lastly, I just want to say that, technology is really twofold. It has provided huge benefits to clients in terms of the criminal justice system, in terms of the way that they're able to communicate with others, in the ways that they're able to gain community with other survivors and get information. It also has really enhanced abusive behaviors at the hands of abusers who have learned to use technology. And the criminal justice system, unfortunately, has not caught up with technology. So we know that what victims are experiencing is far ahead of what the criminal justice system is able to accommodate and to account for. And so real needs for the criminal justice system to catch up with technology and its use, I think, is important. So thank you for having me.
Gabriel, thank you so much for sharing the experience of Safe Horizon. From the prosecutorial experience from California to how victims are provided support in New York City, to experiences from India, Africa, Romania, Morocco, and certainly from the pioneering work from Sierra Leone. I think we've had a lot of sharing of experience. My next speaker is unique, and I think also very important in the work that he has been doing. I'm really pleased to be giving the floor to Ted Bunch, who serves as the Chief Development Officer of A Call to Men. It's important. Call to Men is a leading organization engaging men and boys as partners in building cultures of respect and equality. His work focuses on transforming harmful norms around masculinity and strengthening communities through prevention, education, and accountability. It's not an easy job, but thank you for the work that you do. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good morning to all. Thank you, Your Excellency, for this wonderful opportunity. I want to thank distinguished guests and colleagues here for all that you've shared. My organization is based here in the U.S., but we do international work as well. Call to Men is 24 years old. I'm the Chief Development Officer, but also one of the co-founders. The other co-founder's name is Tony Porter, who's the CEO. Our vision is to create a world where all men and boys are loving and respectful, all women, girls, and those in the margins are valued and safe. So as we look at and hear all of the things that were said today, the way that we fit into this is to really be very solution-oriented, which it means engaging men. Men are primarily responsible for the violence, and in my view and the organization's view are primarily responsible for finding the solution, which really means engaging other men. Engaging other men is really important, whether it's in the digital space, which is simply a reflection of our greater society, wherever we are. The work is adaptable in all communities because where there's a male-dominated, patriarchal, sexist society, you have themes and tenets and behaviors and attitudes that are consistent no matter where we are. And that consistency is really around silence as well. So whether we look at violence online or whether violence in our communities, most violence toward women and girls is done by men, but most men are not violent, but we're silent about those that are, and that silence is as much of the problem as the violence and abuse is, if not more of the problem. Meaning that those men behave those ways because other men don't say anything about it, and if we did, and if we didn't allow them to be in our lives and we held them accountable, they would stop. Because what they want is respect from men, and if we take that away from them, they will adjust. So when we look at male socialization, because that's really what this is about. It's not about, by the way, when we really look at manhood and prevention, really going upstream to stop these things from happening in the first place, we do it through a lens of not calling men out, while men need to be held accountable, but calling men in. That it's not so much about indicting men for their behaviors, while they need to be held accountable, but inviting men in, because we're all swimming in the same water. All of us have been socialized in the same way. We've all been taught and raised in what we call the man box. And the man box are these messages that are given to men, reinforced by men, and passed down to our boys, right? Especially when we look at sexual violence. And some of these things that are passed down to our boys, specifically, again, the tenets, wherever you are, I'm sure this is true. Women and girls are seen as having less value than men and boys. On some level, women are the property of men. So if I'm in Sierra Leone or in New York and I see a man hitting his wife or girl, and I walk over to him today and say, knock it off, he's going to say, mind your business in one form or another. And I'm expected to. And that we teach our boys to sexually objectify women, whether it's in the digital space or whether it's in our communities and our lives, and we do that through our silence. This is really important. We have a curriculum. We work with from elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, colleges, corporate America, law enforcement, military, all professional sports leagues. Wherever there's men and boys is where we go, and where our message really resonates. Again, not indicting men, but inviting men in. We're all swimming in the same water. And when we look at the sexual objectification, we have a live respect curriculum. It's life skills and well-being for boys and young men that we wrote with Scholastic. And it's around the country here in the U.S., but it's also throughout a number of countries in the continent of Africa and also in Europe. Live respect curriculum, one of the lessons we have is around consent. And when we created the curriculum, we interviewed boys from all around the country, all different demographics, and asked the boys, and I'm sure if I'm in whatever community you're in, I ask the boys the same thing, can you define consent? High school boys. Only 19% of boys, no matter what community, they look like boys who would be in your community, only 19% could define consent. Well, that explains a lot. It explains sexual assault in the military, it explains sexual assault on college campuses, It explains why girls and women between 16 and 24 are at the highest risk of being sexually assaulted. Our boys think no means try harder, and the men in their lives are not teaching them any different. They're actually teaching them about conquest. They're teaching them about less value for women and girls. So, at the end of the curriculum, and only one lesson in the curriculum is on consent. That number went from 19 to 75% of boys can define consent. So that's that's prevention. And that's true wherever we are around the world, that number jumps that much because our boys simply haven't had the conversation. And they're getting all these messages from men in their community, good guys, not men who are going out and sexually assaulting women, but they're getting the message around objectification, property, and less value. And I'm going to wrap up here. I know I'm probably up on time, but I really want to state that when our boys know different, they behave different, and men are the same. And so that number from 19 to 75, look at all of the sexual assault prevention, all the victims that didn't happen because of that now. That boys know that no means no, that if it's a yes, it needs to be as enthusiastic as his. If it's a yes with a stiff body, that means a no. There's all these things they now know that they haven't considered before because the message that they've been getting is, I have to get something from this interaction with her because if I don't, I'm falling short. I'm the manhood that I've been taught I have to live up to, and I'm not a man. So, after that, so that's all the victimization that doesn't occur, but also all these boys' lives whose haven't been impacted by them doing something terrible to someone that they didn't know that would cause harm. And so that's prevention. And so we're happy to have this conversation. I'm so honored to be here representing A Call to Men. Again, we do work in person or virtually, so we do a lot of work virtually where we can educate people around these issues around engaging men, and that we have hope and healing for men because there's a lot of men who are acting out of their own trauma as well, not to excuse the behavior, but there's a lot of men acting out of their own trauma, and that needs to be considered too, because that male socialization, men are dying earlier, suicide among men is much higher than women, so these rigid notions of manhood are not serving men either. Thank you.
It's a bunch. I can only look forward to joining one of your sessions where we look at institutionalization and also ensuring that there is accountability. Thank you for the work that the Call to Men is doing. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have 10 minutes. We have some time, a little time for interventions from the floor. Just promise me that you state your name and organization and take 1 minute to say something in really strengthening a commitment for accountability. We are distributing pins around the room. Please, we invite you to just pin them on your lapels to really demonstrate your commitment to strengthening the framework for accountability. I see your hand is up, so we use our place to invite you to take the floor.
Good morning. Can you hear me? Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Excellencies, superpowers, icons in the room. My name is Dr. Beth Lissman. I'm based here in the United States, and I've been the UN representative for a decade now for a progressive group of Catholic sisters and lay people, the Loretto community, and also the Sisters of Charity of the Blessed Virgin Mary of Dubuque, Iowa. I bring you also a word of hope from here in the United States, where we deal with toxic masculinity that's only getting worse and worse over time. But I also happen to be on the board of a hopeful organization called the Angel Band Project. And I just wanted to mention that organization, the Angel Band Project, based in St. Louis, Missouri. It was founded 15 years ago to assist survivors of sexual assault with free music therapy, which has been a proven way of helping women primarily in a trauma-informed way to recover from the trauma of sexual assault. So we're a small organization, but growing. We've moved into, we work primarily in St. Louis, Missouri, New York, here in New York City, and Seattle, Washington. We've been growing. We've been in discussions with Estonia about moving into international work. We hope to have some resources online that would be available anywhere around the world, but we also are having a Songs of Survival concert on the 28th of March in St. Louis, Missouri at Narings Hall High School, which was founded by the Sisters of Loretto over 100 years ago. So just a word of hope to share. Thank you very much for your work and very much for your time. May we all continue the fight.
Thank you for sharing the word of hope that is very much needed. We are firstly running out of time. We've also indicated in the program there will be photo opportunity with Her Excellency Dr. Fatima Madabiu, First Lady of the Republic of Sierra Leone, President of Auckland. So we do want to save time for that. And with no request for the floor, what is left of me is firstly to thank Her Excellency Madam First Lady Dr. Fatima Madabiu for making time to be here. Indeed, in the presentation by Dr. Judy Koyansky, she's mentioned that she was interviewed on CNN by Jim Chapa. That is as a result of really commendable, important, tremendous work that she's been doing on ending child marriage. So she's been here working already, and of course for us at the Family Mission, it's really a great honor to have her introduced in this important event with our office. And so in the form of closing, I want to take this opportunity to thank Her Excellency and celebrate her and her hard work, and also thank our office and the team in our office for the important work that they do, from Freetown to Addis to New York and every other capital or city that she's been invited to champion the voice of women and girls. I also want to take this opportunity in her absence to thank Her Excellency Naima Benyaya, the Minister of Solidarity, Social Integration and Family of the Kingdom of Morocco, for sharing Morocco's experience. We have special guests here. You see seated at the immediate right of Her Excellency Madam First Lady is a no stranger to New York, His Excellency Ambassador Sowa, who is the Ambassador of Sierra Leone to the United States. And we also have a very good advocate on gender issues, Ambassador Asma James, Deputy Commissioner from Belgium, who's joined us from CSW. And he's looking right at me, the Deputy Permanent Representative here in New York for Political Affairs. Ambassador, thank you. I'm thanking them most especially because I know that a lot of work has been put into this, including our staff at the mission and the staff dealing with these issues. But we are at Nelson Mandela Hall, we are at Africa House, so allow me to thank the Permanent Observer Mission led by Ambassador Mohamed Idris and team for really the important work they are doing and they're going to do for the rest of these 2 weeks. I thank our guests, our co-sponsors again, the Family Mission of Greece, Romania, so Optimis International with so much substantive work and valuable experience, and certainly Just Rights for Children. To all of our speakers, thank you for making time. We must move this forward by collaboration and partnership, and we should find ways in which we take the conversations today forward into a concrete outcome. Thank you for making time to all of the important guests here. We need to take the photos, so I need to stop. Thank you, and lunch will be served immediately after the photo session. Thank you so much.